Hey guys, this is Kirob speaking, and today we are back in Pro Cycling Manager 2019 with wait a second. We are here with Benji, and also Herbert.
Hello.
Hello Benji, how are you doing, mate?
I'm pretty fine, It's been a while.
Yes, it has, and
It's great hearing you again.
We are here today to take up the topic of balance once again, the skill tree and balance, and see how our predictions panned out. And hopefully it won't be a 2-hour video this time around. No, definitely not. But I think we have now a lot more experience with the 2019 edition and the additional skill tree that has been put in that. And you have done a Pro Cyclist Let's Play where you have explored many of these skills, and I've done, I'm now in the second one where I deliberately don't use skills to just see the baseline and actually get a challenge from it. But yes, so how did our predictions pan out? And where do we get started?
I honestly feel like we did pretty well with our predictions. If you look at all the conclusions that we lined up at the start, because we did it really early in the PCM 19 lifespan, I feel like we got spot on at about 80% of them. There's a few points that I think that are less interesting than I thought they would be. Certain skills, for example, but we'll go into those later on.
Yeah, we go through them one by one.
Yeah, I would advise just to go through them from left to right. If you haven't seen the last video that we did, we've got a long explanation on how each of these works. So if you want to see that, hop out somewhere. Is it in the description? Where is it?
Yeah, well, I'll put it in the description, yes. It will be a little hard to find. Perfect. Unless we use the same tags or something. I don't know how YouTube works these days. It's always a big black box after all. Okay.
It's all the algorithm.
Yeah, the algorithm. The evil algorithm.
Just name it.
Yes. All right.
Yeah.
So, let's talk about the balance. And we actually had a pre-discussion here because I fucking forgot to hit the record button. So we are very much warmed up and we have our thoughts lined up for the fitness peak already. So let me start out here by saying that with Herbert Hoofenpoof, where we don't have the fitness peak skills, we are not allowed to use any skills apart from attentiveness. It actually feels like tough. It is tough to have that fitness peak lined up, but also because you can't really tell when you are going to get it because of the black box mechanics of Pro Cycling Manager. Usually, when you set a fitness peak, when it actually comes out on is very difficult to tell. But we did discuss briefly that what were your thoughts on it? You please repeat those.
Well, I've got 2 points that I want to come across at. Last time we spent our time, well, I spent my time in the last short podcast we did about this, that we had the periods that were relatively long. So at default, you have a fitness peak of 12 to 18. Then you get a 18 to 21 at level 1, and it just goes exponentially up after that and reaches like 30 days or something, 28.
Yeah, 28 days,
like that on level 3. Now, the thing is, last time I was really vetting on the fact that I feel like 30 days was a lot, and you thought so as well, I think, right?
Yeah, 30 days is a lot, yeah.
And we've got the feeling, well, we now have the feeling, we've come by that just a second ago, that, yeah, it is quite a lot in the gameplay that we do. But if we compare it to real life, then I personally think that it's very unpredictable. And that's also the thing that you mentioned just a second ago, that it's very unpredictable to when a fitness peak can land. In real life, a lot of riders miss their fitness peak, and that's how they end up just fucking up their Grand Tour or a race that they're doing.
Yeah, that's
just
right.
A great example of that is Simon Yates at his Giro d'Italia. So that was a sad environment for him.
Right.
Now
fell down in the last week or something.
Yeah, like he last year he lost like 17 minutes on one stage as he was in the leader's jersey.
Yeah.
And this year he pretty much just ruined everything itself. At the start he was like, I'm there, and then he was like, I'm gonna win this, and then he was like, nope.
Nope. Okay. Hit the wall there.
Yeah.
Right. One other thing we were just saying off camera, so to say, is that the fitness peak effect might be the correct length, although the 28 days definitely seems long. But maybe the effect is a little too strong. Because this is one of the go-to skills when you're getting it. Like, longer fitness peak is one of the first skills you need to get in order to perform well and get those early wins. So maybe the effect is too strong. And let me quantify that a bit. And that is the baseline fitness level, where you don't get any stat bonus, is around 85% fitness level. And the fitness peak is has basically very little to do with the percentage of your fitness. It's just triggered on top, and you need more than 90% in order to have a trigger. But 85% to fitness to 100% fitness, which I showed with my first Let's Play, basically having 100% fitness throughout the season. That is more or less 1.5 points race day condition bias. Flat. You always get that bonus. So 1.5 RDC for 15% fitness, from 85 to 100. And this fitness peak does give you +2, which means that that is an additional 20% fitness. So you go, if you are at 100% and you trigger your fitness peak, you jump in one instance from 100 to 120%. And I think that is a massive bonus, considering what it really should be. Like, it should be another little edge you gain on top of what you have built up through actual fitness planning and so on. Just this little edge, not the massive boost that is just catapulting you. Basically, you're moving up a class of rider, I would say. It's like a complete level up, in the sense, not in the game sense here, but a complete level up from, well, you're the average continental rider, and all of a sudden you can compete with Pro Tour riders, like good Pro Tour riders. So, and that feels like too much. So I would say, after all this playtime, that maybe the effect should be a +1 instead of a +2, but the length might be okay, although a little bit too long. What are your thoughts?
I agree, roughly, and that is mainly because if we compare it to the real-life cycling at the moment, then the top level of climbers and such is relatively close to each other. We haven't had moments like when Chris Froome was in his best days this year, and this year we don't have that because obviously he's not there, so we can't really compare it to him. But then again, last year as well, I feel like he gains most of his Grand Tour victories in time trials and sometimes a bit in climbing, but most of all by just being marginally a bit better at everything and not being extravagantly better at, for example, everything in a week. Yeah, because this year, everything at the top was like 10 riders that fought each other, and I'd say like 2 of them were a bit better than the rest. And in the end, it feels like the level was quite a lot closer than when I play on Pro Cycling Manager and end up losing 3 minutes if I just have a bad day.
Oh, yeah. Also, Pro Cycling Manager style, Egan Bernal leveling up in the background and all of a sudden having 85 mountain and then destroying everything with a +4 fit race day condition or something.
There is a reason for that.
All right, yeah.
Like, in database making, we have certain stats, so like flat, mountain, hill, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
But behind the scene, there's a stat called potential.
Yes.
This one goes from 1 to 8 for each rider. And in the WallDB, the one that most people use on Pro Cycling Manager, I'd advise to use it because, I helped make it.
I wonder why.
Now, we mainly try to do max 7 potential, because if you put them on 8, they will literally fly to 85 on everything.
Yes.
That's insane. And I feel like the whole potential system is just not very good in the background, because if you put a rider at 7, we have like 8 riders at 7 in this database, because if you put them on 7, they're going to grow out to be 85 max at least one stat. Even riders with 6 have the ability to do that. But the growth rate is just slower, and it all depends on their starting rate then.
Yep,
so
yeah, exactly.
I don't know like the ideal percentages and such, because I didn't dive into it that hard. We like compared it mainly towards the initial stats of the game, and realized that those were actually not that well crafted when it comes to potential. These also don't get updated, by the way. So if you see a talented rider this year and you see him next year in Pro Cyclist Manager, he most likely will be shit when it comes to potential, because they don't really update their riders that much behind the scenes.
Oh, interesting. Okay, that's good.
Yeah, for example, a bit of an off-topic version of that is that we had riders that are literally retired for 5 years that were still in the background of the database, and some low-level free rider that was picked up by a team. So yeah, 42 years old, still riding.
Yep. All right. I think that is more than enough talk about the fitness peak. Willpower. I think this one, at least I was surprised by it, by its power and by its situational power. I think it is poorly implemented, but it is very powerful when you get it, and it's very powerful only for a very specific rider type. Basically, the rider I made for my first Let's Play, it was perfect for that one, because if you are a cobble expert, you're going to race races where it is rainy and cold, and in the preseason, right? Or not preseason, but in the early season, and those are basically the only races where you can trigger the fucking willpower bonus.
True.
Yeah, because otherwise, if you are on form, and let's say you don't have a fitness peak, because otherwise, well, if you have your fitness peak, you can't trigger it, the willpower bonus. So basically, this is only a skill that will be available to you if you race early or very late season where the weather is shit and you don't have a fitness peak. So that, you could say, extends your fitness peak for those who race the early year and very late year classics. The late year is not, the late season is not so much affected because weather seems to be mostly fine then still. But everything up to early April or mid-April can be affected by the willpower bonus. And the bonus itself is super strong. Because, let me make that case here now. I've discussed it in my Let's Play, but it basically is a +4 bonus to race day condition. Because you are guaranteed with the willpower bonus to get a +3. It's not a +3 on whatever you've rolled, but it is set to +3. And your race day condition bias needs to be at -1 in order to trigger it. And that means that you gain at least on average, +4 race day condition for the day. And that is super powerful for that day.
That's indeed pretty insane. I feel like...
Yeah, I'm surprised. It was really handy to have.
I'm very much agreeing on the fact that it's mainly for cobble races. And I've noticed that as well, because I'm in a stage racer one, and I feel like I haven't used it that much, even if I had it. Like, I mostly see at the end of the season, well, I still have one left, might as well use it on this one, even though the race is not too important.
Yeah, right.
So that's kind of what I've got around that. In a bit of the background, the weather desires of a rider are mostly like simulated in the background.
Yeah.
So the most of them aren't hard set in databases. So the game kind of simulates for the rider at the start of a career which weather he will like, and that kind of depends on that, of course, because it will decide whether your rider likes or doesn't like this kind of weather. I don't know what it is for Pro Cyclist though. I haven't really noticed which weather you get.
Yeah,
is it
right,
also random or not?
Yeah,
quite curious about it. But I quickly look at my rider and I've got no
it's
vision
just
of
a
that at all.
default standard likes warm weather or something, but not hot. Yeah, I've never seen anything different. Yeah. But yeah, I'm surprised about how good this was when you could use it, and I would just say they've fumbled the implementation of this, because it's useless for stage races. You can't use it in stage races, as far as I know. Only for the first stage, I believe, of a stage race.
I'd say cobble and puncher, it would be interesting, because puncher with hill classics sometimes falls into a rainy season and such.
Absolutely.
Time trialists, maybe. It depends on what time of the year the time trial is and how important it is.
Yeah, but usually they are part of tours.
Important.
They're usually part of tours, though. So
or the World Championships.
And then you can't use it because they fucked up the implementation. Right? You can't. Yeah, true. In a tour, you can't use the willpower bonus, which is ridiculous. I mean, I think that's a bug and not a feature. So, but anyway, I would say let us use the willpower bonus whenever we want. Even if we have a +2 race day condition, you can choose before, trigger the willpower bonus, so you're guaranteed a +3. So on average, you only gain +1. But if it's an important stage and you need it, you willpower your way to it, then I think that should be possible. Just to get rid of some of the to avoid some of the randomization, which can really screw you over. So
yes, but I wouldn't like it to be +3 then, because I feel like it would really easily become
+2?
very OP.
Yeah. Well, it's
because if I, for example, have like
so, but if you roll a +4 and you've chosen that, you are set at +3, so you've lost one.
Yeah, true. That's true. Yeah.
So and +3 is I mean, if you're playing on extreme difficulty, and I think the AI riders all get a default +1 race day condition. I think that's part of the difficulty, that they just cheat and they always get a +1.
I'm not sure it's +1. I think it's something like 1.049 or something.
Oh, okay.
So 1.049 times what you have.
Oh,
and like
interesting.
The other AI would be like 1.25, whatever, something like that. It's somewhere in the, if you want to know where it is, there's a file in your local CDB, it's called, and it's somewhere in your PCM files, and you can open that up and you can see it in, I think, the GAM data column. There's something about difficulty.
Right. Anyway, I think if they have race day condition, or if they have their fitness peak and those bonuses, they quite often end up at +4s or +5s for the day.
Yeah.
From what I've seen. So I think setting it to +3 is not that overpowered in that sense.
I agree. Yeah. I've got one question.
Yep.
That I actually asked in my last video to people, because I honestly don't know. Once I played Armada in Pro Cyclist Mode, did you ever know that? The Armada game mode? It was like a multiplayer mode, like where you gained cards, and with those cards of riders, you could ride. Now, that was one of the first times that I noticed that you had riders above 85 in stat.
Oh, wow.
So you'd have like an 86 rider legend, it was called, like Eddie Merckx or something, like the old cyclist that was great in his time and such, but a bit dope, but I won't talk about it.
No, basically everyone was, so.
Yeah, that's true. Now, let's continue onwards. Now, my question was, if we got an 85 +3, for example.
Yeah. What does that do?
Is that an 88? Because I feel like there's no difference between an 85 or an 85 +3 sometimes.
Yeah, so from what I've heard from people, I don't know for sure either, is that 85 is the cap. And everything above that is just clamped, because the riders got ridiculously strong. What I would do as a developer, which of course doesn't mean anything, but it would be to have diminishing returns when you go over 85. So let's say if you have an 85 +1, that equates to 85.5, because there are float values going on in the background anyway, right? So it's fine, you can use this. And then when you have +2, it's 85.8. And then if you have +3, that's 86. And so on. You could easily make this happen like that. Maybe they are doing something like this, which is why you don't quite see a big difference as you would expect, but there might be a small difference. I have not seen any differences between 85s as far as I can tell so far. So I think they're actually clamped.
Yes, and like in stat-wise, you can't set stats. You cannot set stats above 85 and under 55. So when setting the stats, it's definitely clamped. So yeah, I really considering that. It's an interesting concept.
Yeah, it is. It is. I would certainly make it a kind of soft threshold instead. But
yeah, you're right.
I think they are just really worried about everything falling apart if they don't clamp it, because I remember they had it unclamped at some point, and that just completely blew up balance. It's like there were some
I don't remember,
super overpowered riders. I think maybe someone, I can't remember if that actually happened or not. It must be, I think it was somewhere around 2012 or so, but yeah, long time ago anyway. Yeah, okay. Let's continue on. Training. Training basically panned out as exactly as I anticipated. It is, oh well, not quite. It is, having 1 in there is really powerful. Having 0, you actually have to do fitness training and like properly plan your season. 0 should be the go-to value for having an immersive experience. Herbert Huffenpuff is currently struggling with that. He's huffing and puffing through that. And you can only have fitness peak in the practical sense, like going towards 100, for very limited amounts of time. And that is quite realistic. So 0 plays like an actual human being, and everything you put in here in the training just makes you superhuman. And to various degrees, like 100% fitness throughout the season is achievable for 75% of the season. Early season, you have to still ramp up and so on. If you have it set at +3, it's ridiculous. It's so damn overpowered. I don't know how they made this up.
I was scared about it when you first talked about it last time.
Yeah.
And I actually ended up waiting 1.5 years in my Pro Cyclist to put any point in it because you said it was so OP.
Yeah.
And at the start, I had a really rough time with my planning because I had an injury during the start of the second season and my rider was out for 4 months.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
My whole fitness peak was ruined. And I ended up peaking in freaking November where there were no races. And like Beautiful. Me adapting it at that point was useless because what am I gonna save?
Exactly. Broken neck or something.
That was an adventure.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah. So yeah, I agree. It's very OP. I now have it at 3, and honestly, I'm personally playing worse than I did when I had 0, but that's most likely because I'm just shit at Pro Cycling Manager these days. But like, I don't know what 1 and 2 feel like because I went from 0 to 3 so fast that I can't really compare 1 and 2. Yeah, that's kind of on my end.
All right, I think we covered that pretty well. Personality in general. What do you think about charisma? I want to hear your take first because I'm going to be a little blunt.
Why did I spend a point on this? Why did I spend anything on this? Because like I have like 105 points in my pocket in season 3.
Yep.
And I don't know what to spend it on.
Yep, exactly.
And I've got 1 point in it. Like, I don't care what races I ride. Just give me races.
Yeah. I think it is quite useful right at the start. But right at the start, other things are way, way more important. Yes, like fitness peak and training and so on. So basically, as soon as this skill, or when this skill matters, you have many more other skills that are way more important. And once the other skills are covered, charisma is no longer important at all. Because you always have enough points anyway.
Yeah, true.
So I think this is just a wasted skill. So
waste of space.
Yeah, waste of space.
I honestly think it would be much more... It would be much cooler if... Last year, it all depended on your level, I think. What races you could go to. Now it's with these points and such. And I feel like...
So
I like the concept that you can choose your races. Because for me personally, in Season 3, I'm riding my first Grand Tour. Yep. Well, I've ridden my first Grand Tour, but it's not on YouTube yet. So I'm riding my first Grand Tour. And honestly, I feel like it's really cool that I can really spend most of my points on something and have it as like a trophy of doing something in the past. So if it would be me gaining points through winning and such so that I can spend it, then it would be cooler because I feel like I work towards trying to compete in a big race that I really want. But now it just kind of feels like I'm getting points everywhere and I'm like, yeah, I got a bag of gold now.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
kind of the story.
It devalues what you have there in that sense. Yeah. I think the charisma should be to make it a little stronger because it's definitely way too weak. To make it a little stronger, one thing you could pretty easily do is to have that be a multiplying effect on the the interest from other teams. Because, like, oh, that rider seems to be awesome. He would be a great fit for our team. He seems to be such a good person. It's like, yeah, okay, well, I can see that be a factor. Not an important factor, but a factor. And that would make it slightly stronger. But, well, we are getting to that with the network skill. But first, attentiveness. I think that panned out exactly as I predicted. And so many people were confused about it. Let me just make the case here, just a quick explanation again. Attentiveness doesn't make that you get your 55 or 60 points. It gives you a slight bonus on top of that. So people are like, but 60 experience points each month is so valuable. Yes, you're correct, that is valuable. But is it that valuable compared to 50 points or 45 points? And then you have the, like, okay, that's a difference of 15 experience points. And that is not a big difference. That is doing what your team asks of you 1.5 times per month. That is basically nothing. And that's 3 skill points. Like, put those 3 skill points into training and you're God. So
I agree.
Basically, that is my point here. And this turned out exactly as I anticipated. It's nice to have once you have no other way to spend those points.
I like the idea in a different kind of tree. This tree is a tree that you can put a point into everything from the first day you step into your world of a cyclist.
Yep, right.
In games like, for example, RPG games, I've been playing The Witcher a lot lately due to the Netflix fucking hooked. Honestly, it's a different tree because you have to unlock the first amount of skills. And once you have X amount of skills put in, then you can go towards the more enhancing skills. And I feel like this would be a level 1 skill at that. So you can gain more XP at the start, for example, to kind of teach the player what a skill is and how it helps you.
Right.
And they can get more enhanced later on, but I feel like in this kind of tree, it's pretty useless.
Yeah, I agree. So you basically are suggesting that, yes, the skill would be useful if the tree was, or the skills were working in a much different way, so that they are gating each other, so to say.
Yes.
Like, I agree. That would be an interesting one. Okay, but let's go to network. Is it the most useless skill ever, or is it actually useful to you? I think you had some use for it because you had a broken neck or something.
I don't even know what I had. I think I had a broken neck, yeah. That was a sad descent. I just went into the side of the road and almost died. Sad life. Anyway, now network, it's a bit of a difficult one because I feel like it's useful up to one point, and then I don't give a crap about it anymore. Yeah. I had use of it the first time because I really didn't have much interest at all in the second season, even though I did quite a lot in that season with the time I had left.
Yeah.
And honestly, it feels like once I had that one point in it, I've come to no moment where it, at any point in time, was necessary to put anything extra in it.
And it wouldn't even have been useful to have anything extra in it, right?
Yeah, I don't feel like it would have, and definitely not compared to the other things I can buy with my points.
Right. So just to be clear, so network does give you more interest from other teams or towards other teams, so that they are more likely to pick you up in the transfer season. So
yeah, and I'm not sure, but I also think you can spend more points on that contract page, like 2 points instead of 1.
But that is basically
that basically gives them more interest.
That is what I meant. So that was
I'm just slow.
Yeah, that was formulated in a bad way. So basically, you gain interest the normal way. Sorry, yes, you gain interest in the exact normal way for races, which is abysmally slow. Like if you win the fucking Tour de France, it's like a minute increase in interest from the top teams. It's like, yeah, come on, who cares about the Tour de France? Come on, it's like that's child's play, right? But look, he went to us with his network ability. Oh, that is basically worth winning the Tour de France, right? Yeah,
He
exactly.
had a good agent. Oh my god.
Yeah,
you had to negotiate
yeah.
harder.
Now we love you. Yeah, that is. It feels really bad, the skill. So it gives you more points to spend on increasing interest for various teams. And what I found is that you pick your team and then you just put all the points you have in that, and that's it. So there's no splitting of attention. There's no kind of a mini game in there where you try to play teams against each other so that you can get a better contract or something. There's just nothing in that. It's just shallow. You put points into whatever you like, and then you will probably get a contract offer from them, as well as your current team, unless you have a satisfaction level that is, let's say, abysmal. Yeah, and I never really used it.
I used it once, and that's honestly it. I'm using it now to get new contracts, but I feel like I'm in the green so easily that I won't really need to spend any more points in the next couple of months.
Right.
Now, before we go to discovery, I'd like to address that. We've been hammering on these skills a lot, but let me do say that I do like the idea of having a tree in this game, and it's really, really brought forward a lot of motivation to play for some reason, because I didn't really play Pro Cyclist too much in the last couple of years because I focused hard on career mode, was a big fan of that. And I felt like this was a year to put some interest into Pro Cyclist. And I honestly really enjoyed it. And I'm still playing it, which is very different from my previous years. And
yep,
I feel like this tree really brought something, even though it's not perfect at all when it comes to the stats that are in it, as we're saying it. The skills that are in it are not perfect at all. We're halfway now. I feel like there are some skills, as we'll see pretty soon, that are really interesting and really cool, yet maybe a bit overpowered. Let's go into them pretty soon. First of all, discovery, information. What do you think about it?
So information is basically the same thing as passion. They should really be rolled together, from what I've learned. That it's the same skill twice. So I was of the opinion that this skill, previously I was of the opinion that this skill would be quite useless. It turned out to be not useless. It turned out to be, let's say...
Interesting.
No,
intriguing.
It's weird. It is really weird. It kinda... It has a weird progression to it. So... what it does is reveal stats of other riders, but not only stats, but also their info during the race. Yes. So you can see their bars during the race. And I found seeing all the bars during the race to be a little too powerful. That is something that just takes... It makes it a game that is extremely predictable in that sense. And I like that and I dislike that at the same time. I dislike it because of the lack of general difficulty of the game in general. Like in the if you're playing 100%. On extreme difficulty and you're having a rider who doesn't use any skills and he can't use his energy gel because he's allergic, like you make it the hardest possible thing. Also, he has the lowest potential possible. No, like he's just the most garbage human trying to attempt cycling, basically. And he still wins everything. And then on top you get stuff like that, you know everything about the other rider. It's like, makes it a little too easy. If the game was harder in overall, I think this would add a lot of nice flavor to it. Because knowing the opponent's stats and what they're capable of at the moment, it does lead to better planning for you and better tactics, more interesting tactics. So I think this is good in general, but when you have that information, you're already the most powerful human in history now in the game. So I don't know what to think of that. So they definitely need to be rolled into one skill, though.
Yeah. I've got the feeling that it's indeed split up unnaturally, as technically it's just the riders you ride with a lot is the information. The riders that you don't ride with a lot and you see in the overall global results. So the biggest riders are the ones that you learn from passion, but in the end, it's just a bit conspicuous, as in the first season, you will know pretty much nobody. the information will help you in the first season to learn about your own team.
Yep.
If you have passion, it will learn about the bigger riders up there. So the big riders that are in the first league of the World Tour version of cycling. And honestly, I feel like there's no real point in putting much into information there, because if you put max 1 in that, then you'll just end up in season 2 in Pro Continental, most likely in the Pro Continental division, and you will have riders in there that were getting more known through the passion, so from the big global results. And once you reach level 3, like year 3, I mean, then you're in World Tour most likely.
Yep.
If you play it really well and focus on that, you can definitely get in World Tour in season 3. And that makes it that information is kind of useless then, because you will know most of the riders up there, as passion has already scouted the stats of the big guns that you are with now. So information feels useless after season 1, in my opinion. Passion is interesting, but I've got the feeling that this is a me problem, as I know the stats of the riders roughly.
But you're quite unique in that way. Like, I have made all these stats. It's like me playing automation. It's like, yeah, but I know all the game mechanics. Yeah, no shit, Sherlock.
Now, the more interesting fact is that in season 3 and at the start of season 4, I'm noticing that there are new people around the block that I don't know about, that still aren't known yet. And those are the moments that passion could come in handy, but I've just not spent much into it because it didn't feel worth during the first few seasons at all. And information just doesn't feel worth it anymore to me at that point. About the in-game bars and such, I agree that it's really OP if you put your mind to it, but I've got the concentration span of a goldfish, so once I put observation on a certain rider, I just forget about it. After the race, I'm like, oh yeah, I could have watched his bars.
No, right, yeah.
That's me playing Pro Cycling Manager.
One thing I've noticed though is that after 3 seasons, even if you haven't really spent much points in there, or if you have leveled up so much that you have had to spend points in that because there was no other skills left, you don't even have to observe them anymore to see all the bars. True. That's crazy. It's like, yeah, I know Peter Sagan. He's always the same. He just like yeah.
Yeah, true.
He has all the bars open. He puts up a big display on his back and has all his heart rates and shit on there so that everyone can see while they're riding with them. It's like, yeah, try to beat me, son.
It's a giant flag in red. Well, it's not looking good, so yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Please attack me now. I'm empty. Yes. So I think the observation skill that's an interesting one, but it's deteriorated into just spamming the observation on all your main competitors in a race. And if you have a certain number of observation in there, then you get like 10 times you can observe, up to 15 times. Yeah, and that crazy. Just reveals everything about it. So it's an interesting, I think it's a poorly implemented but interesting skill to have overall.
Yes, but in general, I feel like it does take away something for me personally, as in cycling, you sometimes have riders. I've got an example from in real life. I think it's a Tour de France 2014, where Vincenzo Nibali was in yellow and Contador was the only contender left before he crashed out as well. And there was a certain stage where, Contador was riding with Nibali, and Nibali looked at, for example, his face and his chain to see whether Contador was having trouble or if he would attack. So he would watch his chain for when he changes his gear to see if he would attack. Also, he watched his face to see whether he's deteriorating. And what I liked about the previous versions of the game is that I could at least simulate one of those by looking at the rider, and if they would go into their tired animation, I would become very happy inside and I would just go straight for an attack at that point. And those were moments that, really make it really fun.
Is that what I call thick legs?
I don't know. It's like when they're
Yeah. But that is when they have no resistance left, right?
yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, then they are done anyway. You could just hammer
Yeah,
them.
I think there's a small animation when they have no red, and then you totally see them collapse at no yellow.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. All right. I think that covers it pretty well. So,
Yes.
technique.
Ooh, I like this one.
Yeah, that turned out to be an interesting one, and
A weird one.
Yeah. Also very exploitable. It seems like there are some things going on there. So first up, that's basically the kill rob skill, the first one, level 1. Makes you able to ride through the peloton like an eel, as you like to point out in the previous discussion.
Yeah.
So very slinky. You just get through to the front. No fat asses blocking you, and I quite like that you have that ability, because it takes out some of the nonsense or the compression effect when a peloton goes into a climb, that every rider is like clumped up and then you magically teleport to the rear basically because you that we have had that in my Let's Plays happen a lot, and this kind of guards against this, which is very handy. The second one is the aerodynamics positioning, which seems to be an exploit in there, that it works on mountains as well, and it shouldn't. Not to the degree it does, at least.
True. Yeah.
And overall, slightly too powerful.
I agree.
And then the acrobatics one seems to be in a quite happy place. It is useful sometimes, but it's not OP, as far as I know. Do you have any... what are your thoughts on these three?
First of all, the starting one, the sneaking / eeling through the peloton. I won't say sneaking because it makes it look like I'm talking about stealth. Eeling through the peloton, I really like it because I come into the situation a lot that I'm, for a second, not watching my screen. I'm like drinking water or something, and I look back and I'm at the back of the peloton just before the climb that matters. I'm like, oh shit, I need to get to the front. I just activate that. My main issue is that I forget a lot about just activating it, but that's just me. When I use it, it's really handy, and I feel like it's a good skill to have.
Yeah,
I don't actually have any complaints about that one.
Right, it is a little weird though when you can trigger it, how it blocks other skills and stuff. Yeah, I think, did they patch that out somehow? Because I've not had the issues.
I've not had it in a while either as well.
Yeah. But anyway, okay, let's continue. Technique.
The second one was the aerodynamic position. I really like the idea. I really like the idea that they have that, because in life a lot of riders focus on aerodynamic positioning, even on climbing, to set up a steady pace and ride the same pace upwards and so forth. I just feel like it's a bit unnaturally done on the climbing end, because you can just literally ride away if you activate it once you have like 8 seconds advantage. And yeah, that's not ideal. Yeah, definitely not ideal. On the flat section, it's cool, but I feel like it's very OP, as I activated it once or twice when I attacked on a bit of a hill. I waited till the downhill ended and I had like 4 or 5 kilometers to go with like 10 seconds advantage. I just activated and I win because of it. And that feels unrealistic if there's literally a peloton riding after me, because I should be getting caught even though it's not happening. Then the third one is Acrobatic Descent. I really like it, but I feel like I haven't crashed with it. I feel like there's no danger, so I use it every time.
Oh, I did crash with it. I did actually at some point crash with it. It's like now I've finally figured out how it actually works. So, like, corners up that little bar, and as soon as the little bar is at the top, you have like normal crash risks again, or higher crash risks even.
Yeah, okay.
So like, you want to keep that bar as low as possible. Works best in descents that are just basically straight. But yeah.
On that note, I feel like you should be able to crash in a time trial. Or like in a team time trial.
Oh, yeah. Take down your whole team.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one thing I want to have in a game. 100%. That's just a misstep. Please, come on. It's realistic.
All right.
Okay.
But these are all three are useful to various degrees. I think number one is basically, it's not overpowered, but it's basically the, oh shit, I fucked up, avoidance skill. And then number two is overpowered, definitely. But an interesting one. And number three is sitting about right. So, but stealth.
Stealth?
Yeah, stealth. What do you think about stealth?
Be more astute. That's like the worst description that they could ever make for it. But I feel like it's ridiculously useless.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you can't use it when it matters.
Yeah. It just feels off. I haven't even brought it up to level 3 because, yeah, I don't feel like it's worth it. As it just adds the usages, I think. Yes.
It
but
also
it's
makes
just a longer period as well. Yeah.
Longer term bonus. So it makes the effect last longer too. So
yeah.
And I think it increases the radius or something. Not quite sure, but yeah. Basically,
I don't think so.
This is you throw out a flashbang, and then everyone is stunned for a little while and can't react to whatever you do. And
a bag of sand in their eyes.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Very nice. Very nice of you. And that basically gets locked out. When is it? Whenever it feels like it's never available when you actually would need it.
When you need it. Like I think it's in the last section of a race that it mostly happens, and I feel like I use it only at the last parts of the race. It could come in handy if you're a breakaway rider, I think.
Yeah, but I think it locks out 10 kilometers
before every sprint?
Before the finish, I believe, for any race, yeah. Something like that. It's
but if you're like a KOM rider, a KOM breakaway rider, at the start of your first season or second season, once you still are baroudering your way around.
Yeah, but then you would still want to attack the breakaway within 10 kilometers of the finish. So you can't use it there.
True. That's true.
So I thought this
was... just for the KOM points, it could come in handy, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, but it also deactivates there.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. It's like within 2 kilometers of a KOM and within like 10 kilometers of the finish or something like that. Yeah. So overall, it was just like, okay, come on. It's such a a cool thought, but I think they saw how overpowered it is if you can use it at any point. It's like, let's throw it 1 kilometer away from the finish. It's like the whole peloton is blinded, like everyone doesn't sprint and you are just...
Like, it would be an interesting concept if you could have like just a weekend or like a week where these skills were doable in multiplayer.
Oh, yeah, right. Just to see how they pan out.
Come to think about it. Everybody blinding each other and attacking every single second.
Yeah.
Because that are the races that you really attack. In multiplayer, you attack like every single second because you want to troll and just have fun.
Right.
But in your single player, you don't do that, and then the skill nowhere comes in handy.
Yep. That's right. All right, let's move on to Super Leader. Have you tried out that one? Super Leader, yes. Superführer.
I still don't 100% know how it works. I've got no clue the transparency behind it because I feel like it never does much.
Well, I noticed that it's basically like triggering the energy bar for your teammate.
Yeah, but you can also do that, right?
Sorry?
With E? Can't you still do that
with I?
E?
Yeah, you press I and you can. Yeah. So that's basically an exploit or bug.
Can you do it twice then?
No, you can only do that once. Like they use up their energy gel.
You can do the energy gel and the super leader. Or
well, the super leader is 1, 2, or 3 times depending on level.
Yeah, but I mean, if you use the super leader, does that use your energy gel of that rider? Or can you use the energy gel while it uses the super leader?
Yeah, that's it. I wanted to describe the effect it has as if they were going on energy gel. So it makes them slightly more resistant. And I think I had some interesting results with that, where I made, I think it was Bucket, and I put the super lead on him, and he just like outright won the fucking race for me.
Really?
Yeah, he was good. I think it's in a pretty good place. It is usable. It has a small effect, but a noticeable one if you really if you get to know your teammates and how much they, what performance they can get, I think this is working. This kind of, this one feels balanced for once.
Yeah, I've got the disadvantage that I'm not really in the teams where I have full support of teams.
Oh, right.
As they're just not good enough.
Yeah.
Even in like the larger teams I'm in, I just don't have the real support when it comes to the high mountains and such. So I can't really use it there. And I feel like in sprints with a stage racer, it's obviously not going to help. And yeah, it's mostly in hill stage that I end up using it then. But I would have loved to use it more in the mountains. But yeah, I just don't have the team around me to support that.
Yeah, I think that's probably the place where it matters the most. The AI gets a little weird when you put the super lead on. It's like canceling some of the other effects or commands they have on them. So I'm not quite sure what's going on there. It's, as always, Pro Cycling Manager is not very transparent about what's happening.
The black box.
Yeah. But okay, so these are the skills, pretty close to what we anticipated, I would say.
Yes.
With a lot more nuance added in now.